much or a little more?
Oh, less, little less.
No.
Little less.
Little more? I heard you.
Sit.
I heard you clear.
Use the pot.
Welcome back to Modern Homestead Alaska. I'm Jessica, and this is my family. We're making Sunday family night dinner. Won't you join us?
Hello.
Let's start out with the crock pot Sunday sauce. How cute are these? They're little gingerbread men. So, to make a Sunday sauce, we're going to be using beef short ribs. Aaron's parents this summer brought us a bunch of beef short ribs, and these came off of their cattle. Aaron grew up on a ranch in Wyoming and has had cattle and all of that his entire life. We're very fortunate when they brought us these beef short ribs, and to make the fanciest Sunday dinner I can, it also has to be easy and something I can throw on the wood cook stove. So I'm starting out with 5 pounds of beef short ribs that I'm going to salt and pepper, and we're gonna take them over there and sear them. So let's not just talk about it, let's do it. I wanna get a good salt on the ribs. And I'm gonna have to do these in batches. These are not cut. If Aaron were here, he could probably tell me. He had to work today. They're not cut down like you see in the store, but look at that. Let me show you that. Those are the rib bones, and this is the giant chunk off of that cow. Beautiful beef. Man, look at that. That's a Wagyu style there, I kid you not. Marbling is fantastic. And we know the quality of this animal in particular, the life that it had was absolutely taken care of, very ethical. So nothing makes me prouder than to put homegrown things that I know where they came from in my kitchen. But then again, I can't always do that. I don't know many of us that can. So the wood cook stove is roasting hot. It is extremely cold out right now, and so we have this thing running high all day. So once I get it seared off, I'm gonna have to move it down the stove, but I'm gonna put a good quality oil, olive oil, grapeseed oil, whatever you're comfortable with in your kitchen. And I already can see the pan is so hot that is rippling. But let's do about 5 minutes per side. Did you hear that one go down? That's the hot side of the pan. While the ribs sear off, I'm going to go ahead and do the prep work for the rest of the Sunday sauce. I don't have a big yellow onion. I have some white ones, so that's what we're going to go with. It does call for an entire onion diced. If you're new around here, or maybe this is your first time popping in for a Sunday dinner, I'll just tell you what's kind of behind it as I chop this onion up. My husband really feels that all of our children are leaving home just way too quickly for what he is comfortable with. And I may cry through this, and this time it's not because I'm emotional, it's because this onion is strong. Anyway, he really wanted to build a way. We've always ate dinner as a family. We've always just been around the table when they were growing up in sports and whatever. If it meant we waited until 10 o'clock at night for everyone to sit down and eat, everyone waited until 10 o'clock at night to eat so that we could do it as a family. As they've gotten older and started leaving home, we just don't have family dinners around the table as much as we used to. So Aaron's thought in all of it was a good way to bring them back into the house. And then me, of course, the way that I love to cook and to be in the kitchen, it became a whole thing of what is the best meal that I could make for Sunday dinner. And so that's what you're watching, is us trying to always make the best meal we possibly can. Because this recipe, and I'll link it in the description box if you're interested, is actually for a crock pot, I don't like to run something electrical all day if I can use the cook stove for free. It's already heating the house. I might as well use a free heat source. I'm gonna use these vegetables after we have seared off of the short ribs, because I'm going to want to deglaze the pan. I'm gonna want to get all of those good bits of flavor off the bottom. And so I'm just chopping the vegetables, setting them aside, and all of this is going to cook down. The recipe calls for 2 diced carrots. I have some frozen carrots from our garden this summer, but I also, for Thanksgiving, had bought some fresh carrots for cooking with, and so I want to try and use the fresh ones up simply so they don't sit around and go bad. So the recipe wanted me to leave this garlic head whole and just cut the top off of it and then put it in there. But I know, because it's going on the wood stove and not a crock pot where the heat is evenly distributed, that I'm gonna have to stir this throughout the day. That clove is gonna break down, and I just didn't want all of the skin from these garlic cloves in there. So midway through doing what the recipe told me to do, I changed my mind. I will leave them whole because the flavor of garlic does change the more of it that you expose, and we just want this to get real nice and sweet as it cooks down all day long, and we're not looking for that sharp, strong bitterness that can come off of garlic. And at least I think that's the purpose of the recipe. That's what's going on in my head right now. So I'll get my red wine open. I like this brand. We had like a cool bar area in one of our previous houses that we remodeled, and I thought it was pretty, and so I bought some of it back then and tried it, and I thought it's a pretty good wine. I like the flavor of it, and that I think is the #1 thing when cooking with wine, is if you don't like the flavor of it out of the bottle in a glass, you are not gonna like that condensed down in your recipe. So I'll just keep these. I want to use the oil though, because there's so much flavor in it. So I'll pull these out and then just run my knife through them. But I've noticed when cooking with like sun-dried tomatoes, we do a lot of cooking with just like a chicken and quick pasta sauces and so on. If they don't come diced, they're not the easiest thing to chop. However, they do break down once you start heating and cooking them. And so they don't need to be too terribly broke down. They're gonna go for about 6 hours. You see that coloring? That's what we're looking for. I've never made this before. I could be wrong, but they rendered so much tallow, beef fat off of it. I'm gonna put this in a little bowl to cool down, and then we'll get all those brown bits off the pan. Now, I've left maybe half of a tablespoon down with the onions and carrots that have that little bit of the good oil that has been flavored from the sun-dried tomatoes. Those literally took the brown bits off so well. Look at that. Oh, there's a shadow, but all those bits came off real nice and easy. So now we're gonna hit it with 1.5 cups of red wine. All right, that's gonna cook down, and all of the alcohol will actually cook out of the wine, and we'll just have a condensed flavor. To that, 2 28-ounce cans of these tomatoes. They're crushed tomatoes. No, they're not. It says not necessary but recommended. You know that we love spice, so it says 1/3 of a cup of a pickled jalapeno. Put a jalapeno in there. An entire jar of tomato paste. For the seasonings, we're gonna go with some red pepper flakes. It says a teaspoon. And it says 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. I get mine from Azure. Tomatoes and the whole garlic clove. It doesn't call for it, but I'm gonna throw fresh thyme and rosemary in there because it will cook down, but I think it gives a more robust truth flavor of the herbs. And so I'm gonna throw those in, and now I'm gonna nestle the ribs on top. I'm gonna cover it, let it come up to a simmer. When it does, I'm just gonna rotate the pan over here and then let it go low and slow all day. I'm gonna just make a crusty, no knead bread. I just mix it up in the mixer because it's simpler for me that way. And it doesn't have to be hot when dinner comes, but I can do the rise and bake off and everything. And then when everyone gets here for dinner, I'm not really having to rush around the kitchen and bake bread and all of that. So I'm gonna make 2 loaves, one that we eat just during the week, and then one for dinner. So I need 6 cups of flour. Per loaf, I want to do a couple of teaspoons of an instant yeast, a teaspoon of salt. I set the salt on this side and the yeast over there. I was just adding in the 3 cups of warm water because I'm doing 1.5 per. So I leave about 1/2 cup out to the side. I watch it, see if it comes together. Does it need the other 1/2 cup or not? Because sometimes, depending on our humidity and whatnot, this might be a little bit wet of a dough. But today it's looking like a very dry dough with the wood cook stove going. So it all just pulled together, and right here at the end, I'm just going to throw in a little bit, like 1 pinch. It's some fresh garlic and rosemary, and let that go throughout. Because I'm gonna turn the bread after it rises, I just pull it off of here. It's kind of a sticky little loaf. That's just gonna get covered by a damp towel and put on the warming drawer at the wood cook stove to rise for about 40 minutes. At that point, we'll start preheating the oven to bake it up. I'm gonna put these 2 Dutch ovens, loud, in a cold oven with the lids on. So we're making ovens inside of ovens. And then we're going to preheat to 450 degrees. The bread went a few minutes past where I normally would like it to go. It's nice and fluffy. Obviously, everything is coming together. Let's get it out of the pan, or the pan, jeez, the bowl. Here we go, girl. Check that. Check that out. All right. Is just divide it into 2. All right. This one. That looks better. And then I'm going to bake it on parchment. So I just grab the bowls that it's going to do the second rise in while the oven is preheating. And then a good little sprinkle of flour onto the parchment, onto the bowls. And we simply roll it around. It's a little bit sticky, but that's okay. This is the perfect actual for this kind of bread. Okay. So use parchment. Back on with the towel. And we're gonna let the oven and everything that's in it preheat while this sits under the towel. Making something as simple as an herb butter that has maybe some shallots and garlic, which is exactly how we're going to do it. I take an unsalted, 2 sticks of unsalted butter and put them out. I let them soften at room temperature. But making something like this instead of just say plain butter on a night where you have these deep, rich flavors really does tend to take or elevate things to the next level. So what I like to do is take a little shallot, and these are very hard to find up here this time of year, but I've managed to get my hands on a couple of them. I did try to grow shallots, and when I look at how tiny my onions are, I think some of them are actually shallots. But we're going to take a shallot and the softened butter, and I'm going to give a nice, real tiny, best I can do, dice to this shallot, or yeah, chop. We're going to chop, not dice. Here we go. All right, we're gonna just mutilate it as small as we can possibly get it, because when we rubbed this butter on the bread, we don't want to get a big bite of shallot or onion or an herb. We really want is the essence of it. So to that, I'm actually going to run this clove of garlic because I do want that as more of a paste than anything. Just use this big fork. Let's get that smashed together. And because it's unsalted, I am gonna do a pinch of salt and a little bit of black pepper. Now let's chop some herbs. We have some fresh Alaska grown rosemary. So just run your fingers backwards on the hard stem, and then some thyme. So we're also running the same flavors throughout the bread, through this. But depending on how and where everything is cooked at, low and slow on the cook stove, at a real high temperature in the bread, inside of the oven, fresh herbs take on different notes and different characteristics. So you can carry the same flavors throughout and not feel like the whole meal tasted like rosemary. So to that, I like sage. You don't have to do anything that I do. You could do all your own. You could do Italian parsley, whatever. So a couple of sage leaves and some fresh basil. Oh, I love basil. But basil is very, very strong to me, so I'm only going to use 2 fresh leaves of it. We're gonna lay the basil out, lay the sage on top, then put all of our friends in the middle, roll it up. Look at our little package. Then we're gonna start running our knife through it. And that goes into the butter as well. Wedding rings off for this. Let's use the tools God gave us, right? We're gonna cover the butter and put it in the refrigerator, allowing it to marry all day long, and then about an hour before dinner, we'll pull it out. Once the bread has risen for about an additional 15 minutes, the pans have been completely preheated in the oven. If you want to use gloves, you have turned these pans into an oven or oven mitts when I pulled them out, and then carefully we are placing the dough, the bread, into the pan, and just leave it on the parchment paper. I know with Banneton baskets, you would flip the dough out and then put it in, and then the heat from the pan keeps it from sticking. After 30 minutes of cook time, you take the lids off of the pans, and now we're just gonna brown up the bread a little bit, but it's done its rise and it has baked off, and now we have beautiful crusty bread that goes for about 45 minutes, and adjust the temperatures as necessary. because we are attempting to do courses with the dinner instead of serving everything at once, drawing out the conversation at the table, all of those beautiful things, I am going to do a salad course tonight. Olive Garden is such a popular restaurant here for Italian type food in America, and we all know that it's not real Italian food. However, I think their salad is fantastic that they give you at the beginning of the meal, and it is so simple to make. So it just consists of some really good lettuce. They use chunks of iceberg. I don't personally care for that. However, I just use some really good lettuce, some tomatoes, some olives, and for the onions, so to mellow those out just a little bit, I slice them real thin, throw a little bit of vinegar on them and some water, let them rest for a few minutes. I used the chopped pepperoncinis. You could put whole pepperoncinis in there. That's the way Olive Garden does it. And then some really good Parmesan cheese on the top, and then add the onions. I'm gonna grab me all those cheeses from last night. Aaron and Caleb were at work all day today. Cody's been gone all day. Little Wyatt helped me, and he brought up Christmas boxes and built a fire in the basement. All those fun things. So now I'm gonna get the appetizer going. My beautiful friend bought me this board. So we're gonna do a bunch of cheeses on here, some crackers, and get it all on the table. Easy, simple hors d'oeuvre. I didn't think about it the last time, but I'm gonna say, oh, this is a mild cheddar. That's the first cheese. This is a piece of medium cheddar. I know you're supposed to do the boards like a certain way, like soft and hard or whatever. I'm a little bit cheap to do that. It's crumbly. Let's see. I got a Cotswold, Cotswold. Find out. Grana Pando, Padano, pad. Who knows? This one looked interesting. It had green rind. I thought that was weird. And this is a young Mancho, Manchego. Why do cheese names have to be so hard? Stinky. This is some kind of Gouda. It's got like a wax rind as well. Oh, Gouda. And then this one is a smoked goat. Caleb loves goat cheese. I have tons of dried fruits or nuts or anything like that. So I'm gonna slice up this figs, just a couple slices of fig. I think fig with cheese is lovely. I found these in the pantry when I was cleaning it this week. Some salted peanuts. That is so good. And then I got this uncured peppered salami. I'm gonna slice that up. I have this little Alaska cranberry butter. It looked cute. Sounded good. Pulling things out of my fridge. We use these, this. They're a very strong orange. Tiny little smidge of Dijon mustard. I got this at Trader Joe's as well, this dark chocolate bark with its almond pretzels and sea salt. Just break a couple little bits of it. Because cheese and chocolate, believe it or not, it's fantastic together. These sound like, I got these left over. So, Okay. Yep. I made this tiramisu last night. I'm gonna jump to that right now and show you what's for dessert. Again with the experimenting, although we're great at doing desserts around our house, this is again another dessert that we have never tried to make from scratch. And also, it is not something I commonly would maybe order or eat, although I think it is lovely because I do love coffee and chocolate. I was in complete shock because I did not realize that authentic tiramisu was made with raw eggs. So you separate the whites from the yolks and then whip the egg whites with that was all the sugar that went into this entire recipe, was that 1 spoonful of sugar. You make soft peaks. I only have one mixer or one mixer bowl, and so I have to do mine. The whites to whip need to be in the bowl first, and then I went in with the egg yolks, and these are farm fresh eggs. And then to that, I was reading it off of the mascarpone cheese, and it was telling me how to do it. In this moment, I could not figure out whether it was like the liquid of the coffee or the espresso or whether it was powder. I went with the liquid espresso. It turned out fantastic, so I'm still not sure whether I was right or not. And then it did call for like amaretto or rum or all these different alcohols, and we just happened to have some Crown, and so I wasn't going to, buy a $16 or $20 bottle of alcohol just to make a dessert. And then you whip the cheese in there with the egg yolks. Both of those had gone for 3 to 5 minutes individually. And then when you get the lady fingers out, of course there's sugar in the lady fingers. I think that's where maybe some of the sweetness, well, not maybe, it's where some of the sweetness from the dessert actually comes from. And then you just quickly dip it into the espresso that I have made. I do not have an espresso machine, therefore mine came from instant espresso. And then you line the bottom of an 8x9 or a 9x9, but a fairly small baking dish. Once the simple egg yolks and mascarpone have whipped for about 5 minutes, making them light and fluffy, you are then going to add in the egg whites that you have whipped to stiff peaks. Cutting in egg whites should take you a few minutes, and it should be gentle, and you slice down the middle with your spatula and then bring it from the edges, and then the first little bit kind of lightens it up, and then as you continue it makes it lighter and lighter. After combining all of that together, you put half of the mixture on the first layer of lady fingers. It's a layered dessert, so half of the mixture goes on. Smooth that out as best you can. Now adding a second layer of lady fingers and a second layer of the cream. Whip together, and then we are going to lightly dust it or heavily dust it, whatever you prefer, with some rich dark cocoa. Done. And the sauce has just been bubbling away all day. Isn't that beautiful? I'm not sure what to do, and so I'm gonna pull these ribs out and then let them cool enough that Aaron can shred them up for me.
Can you hold it?
Yeah, maybe. Leave that. Is it too hot? Woo. It's bubbling hot. I need salt. After I added the shredded ribs back in, this is just a little bit of fresh basil. Feel your outfit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the plaid on plaid. Aaron's looking his best. Show us, baby. You look your best. For family dinner. It's like business on the top, party on the bottom, or
Nap on bottom.
nap on the bottom. Gotcha. It's on the porch. Caleb, sit down, honey. You're gonna love it. That one of them is a smoked goat cheese. This one? The one you've already been eating off of?
No, that was me.
That was you? Have a seat. Do you want eggnog or water? What best? Water.
He said, Jessica.
Dude, who's doing dishes?
Cody. You and Cody.
Wait. Bull. Oh, you're skipped the bull?
Yeah.
Bull?
No.
Bull?
Jesus, you're helping with dishes.
Caleb, bull?
No.
Nope. Cody? No? Alright. Well,
Oh.
know who's not doing dishes?
Huh? I'm here.
No, me. Nah.
I know. Yeah.
He's the one that bought it. Wyatt? Olive garden salad?
A little bit.
Funny. Babe, would you grab the olive
Okay.
garden first?
So what?
Some leaves today.
Toad? Okay. Best?
You don't want no salad yet, Cody?
Caleb does first. Oh no!
Stuff at the same time, and then
Wait, let it go down. Run cold water in the sink for the plumbing. Babe, would you put that seasoned butter on the table?
Who's Dad's?
What?
Dad's.
Who dis?
Dad?
Who dis? Oh, I put your ranch up, babe.
Mom?
That much or a little more?
Oh, less. Little less.
No.
Little less.
Little more? I heard you.
Sit.
I heard you clear.
Who's Pa? Who's Pa?
Big chunk of red meat.
Good. I don't know other Pa. He's learning. He's a learning boy.
Who dat?
That's Dad. That's you.
Me? Is this Wyatt?
Yeah. That's more than enough, Mom. I have to make weight this week.
No!
It's bowl can
I heard him, Aaron.
You didn't except for me.
Yeah, you said more.
No, I said less.
Oh, sorry. You grabbing yours? There's huge. I'm just waiting. Oh, perfect.
Someone's supposed to just wait for someone to say when. Okay, going sideways.
That was the new strap, right? Our eternal Father, we thank you for this food and the family that's here with us today, and we thank you for the health of everybody around here and the safety. I ask this all in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Should we put it like this? Oh, do you see that? That looks soft. You think it's this size? Like one night? Oh, it worked.